Today's aim is that students will be able to model and solve real-world division problems using number lines, counters, and expressions. Some quick vocabulary. First, the quotient is the answer to a division problem. The dividend is the number being divided. The divisor is the number by which another number, that is the dividend, is divided. An expression is a mathematical phrase that contains numbers, variables, and operators. So if we were dividing 6 divided by 2, we know the answer is 3. So 3 would be our quotient, 6 would be our dividend, and 2 would be our divisor. Some key points, we already know this, is a quick review. When dividing 2 positive rational numbers, the answer will be positive. When dividing 2 negative rational numbers, the answer will be positive. When dividing 1 positive and 1 negative rational number, the answer will be negative. Division represents the separation of quantity into equal-sized groups with the same amount in each group. And division can be represented as repeated subtraction. Let's move into some examples. Number 1, the temperature dropped a total of 24 degrees Celsius over a certain period of time. If the temperature dropped 1.5 degrees each hour, how many hours did it take for the temperature to change? Draw a model using counters and a number line. So first thing I'm going to do is circle all of my numbers so I can cube my problem. And I'm going to include the units with each one. Now I'm going to underline some keywords like dropped tells me it's going to be negative each hour. And I'm going to box my question, how many hours? There's no unnecessary information, so there's nothing I need to eliminate. Next, I'm going to use my number line. I know that I need to get down to negative 24 degrees. So if I start here at 0, I need to get down to negative 24 down here. So I'm going to write negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6, negative 7, negative 8, negative 9, negative 10, negative 11, negative 12, negative 13, negative 14, negative 15, negative 16, negative 17, negative 18, negative 19, negative 20, negative 21, negative 22, negative 23, and negative 24. Now, starting at 0, I know that it drops by 1.5 degrees each hour. So in the first hour, it dropped 1.5. So I'm going to draw a line and write 1 hour. There's 1 hour. After the second hour, it dropped another 1.5. So I'm going to write second hour. Another 1.5, that's 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours, 11 hours, 12 hours, 13 hours, 14 hours, 15 hours, and 16 hours. So it took the 16 hours for my temperature to drop by 24 degrees. Now, another way I could do this is by using my counters. So if I draw 24 counters, and I know they're all negative, so I'll put a negative symbol in the middle. So I have 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and I put a negative in each one. I'm starting with negative 24, and I'm going to need to divide them into groups of 1.5. So I'll have 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, and I'll keep going so that I have groups of 1.5. And as you might be able to anticipate, once we get done, we'll count how many boxes we have. How many groups do we have? Inside each one, I have 1.5, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 groups, which is just like I got here with 16 hours. Now, this works quickly and easily if you have a small number, but if you have a larger number, it's going to get a lot harder. So what we can do to make this easier for ourselves is to write an expression. What I'm doing here is dividing. I'm taking the whole amount and dividing it into smaller groups. So I could do negative 24 divided by negative, because it's dropping, negative 1 1/2. Now, what I want to do is make sure that they're both in the same format, so I'll do them both as fractions. Negative 24, we know there's an invisible 1 underneath every whole number, divided by negative, and I'm going to write this as an improper fraction. 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 is 3. 3/2. Now I know when I am dividing fractions, all I do is flip the second one and multiply. So I'm going to rewrite this as negative 24 over 1 times, flip it, negative 2/3. Now I'm ready to multiply straight across. Negative 24 times negative 2, remember the negative stays with the numerator. Negative 24 times negative 2 gives me positive 48, divided by 1 times 3 gives me 3. And I know that 48 divided by 3, if I do it over here on the side, 3 goes into 4 one time, let's do 3, subtract, bring down my 8. 3 goes into 18 6 times. 6 times 3 is 18 with a remainder of 0. So my answer is simply 16. So any way we did it, we ended up with the same answer of 16 hours. Let's look at another example. Example number 2. Over the summer in Albany, New York, the depth of the local reservoir decreased 17.5 inches. If the water depth decreased by 2.5 inches each week, how many weeks did it take for this change to occur? Again, first thing I do is circle my numbers and the units that go with them. I'm going to underline keywords like decreased, which tells me it's negative. I'm going to box my question, how many weeks, and I'm going to eliminate some unnecessary information about what time of year it was, and we don't really care. Now we're ready to draw a picture. Here I'm going to use a number line, and I'm going to draw it vertically. So if here's the normal water level, here's the water, we'll say this right here is 0. The depth of the reservoir is where you hold water, decreased by 17.5 inches. So it got down here to 17.5. So I'm going to go ahead and draw negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6, negative 7, negative 8, negative 9, negative 10, negative 11, negative 12, negative 13, negative 14, negative 15, negative 16, negative 17, and negative 18. So we need to get down here to negative 17.5 by decreasing by 2.5 inches each week. So from here we go down 2.5, 2.5 in week 1, and then another 2.5 week 2, another 2.5, that's week 3, another 2.5, that's week 4, another 2.5, that's week 5, another 2.5, and that's week 6, and the last one is week 7. We get down here to 17.5. I know it's a little small. So it took 7 weeks for the reservoir to lose 17.5 inches of water. Of course, we could also do this by dividing. We take 17.5 inches divided by 2.5 inches per week. Now, when we have a decimal in the divisor, we need to move it over to the right so that it's at the end. If we move it one space in the divisor, we also move it one space in the dividend. So we can rewrite this as 175 divided by 25. It's exactly the same problem. Now we figure out how many times does 25 go into 175? Well, it goes in 7 times. 7 times 25 is 175. We have no remainder, and we ended up with the exact same answer of 7 weeks. Now it's time for you to practice one.